Facebook, Amazon, Apple, and more are coming under fire as lawsuits and investigations pile up looking to rein in these tech giants. Much of it is antitrust litigation which seeks to limit or entirely break up monopolies. In basic economic terms, there are three kinds of monopolies: horizontal, vertical, and natural. Horizontal monopolies seek to buy out all the competition in their given industry. Like if McDonald's bought out every other burger chain until it was the only fry guy in town. Vertical monopolies seek to control each step of the production process and thus reduce costs by never having to pay a third party. This would be like if McDonald's farms raised McDonald's cows to send to McSlaughterhouses and ship in McTrucks to your local franchise before McStuffing them in your face. Natural monopolies are a bit different, generally regulated only to utilities. They're called natural because it's actually kind of the best solution. You probably only have one choice of water company where you live because it just doesn't make sense to have 12 different providers building parallel infrastructure all over the place, constantly fighting for territory or digging up sidewalks to place proprietary pipes. And because everyone needs and uses those essential utilities, they are subject to greater regulation and consumer pressure, drastically reducing the company's ability to do anything dastardly. The first modern monopolies came with industrialization and railroads. The world got a lot smaller, capital became king, and in turn, interstate commerce flourished. The most prominent example in American history is Standard Oil. Standard Oil started with horizontal integration, buying out all their competitors in the refinery business. Then they began integrating vertically, eliminating external costs and boxing out anyone's ability to compete, which led to it being broken up by the Sherman Antitrust Act. Monopolies don't happen overnight and generally are the product of a paradigm shift and good timing. Railroads changed everything, and the companies that had adequate resources to seize the moment got a head start that no one could overcome. Not only would another company have to work smarter, better, and faster to make up the ground, they also had to deal with whoever was in front of them chucking obstacles in their way. Have you ever played Mario Kart and one of your friends gets way out in front, then only gets further ahead with each lap because everyone in 2nd to 8th place keeps crashing into each other trying to catch up as first place cruises along with not one shell in their way? That's the exact same scenario as a monopoly. Now imagine if the first place player could buy out the other players. They know 8th place has no shot at winning, so they offer them a sweet deal to give all their power-ups to first place, and 7th and 6th and so on until all the blue shells in the world couldn't stop them, no matter how many laps are left. Tech is the new railroad. Giant platforms that got into the game early and are now only experiencing further and further growth. If you want more info as to just how these companies got so big, I'll put a link below to this great video by Economics Explained. However, in the digital world, as compared to the analog world, monopolies work a bit differently. We aren't dealing with raw materials and basic manufacturing so much as we're dealing with virtual real estate, which leaves most of these companies looking like some kind of diagonal, semi-natural monopoly of convenience. Analog monopolies were kickstarted entirely by business people. Buy low, sell high, cut costs, innovate. Digital monopolies were kickstarted by us. We went to Amazon for our books and then said, "Hey Amazon, can we buy more stuff here?" Yeah, sure, why not? Then we said, "Hey Amazon, what about groceries? I hate going to the store." And Amazon had to get more robust technical hardware to keep up with hosting demands, along with more physical space to hold all the products they were selling. Which then led to Amazon letting small business owners sell their products through Amazon for the exposure, and let small companies and even massive startups rent Amazon server space to avoid the high cost of building their own international data centers. Amazon used to only partner with logistics companies like UPS to handle delivery, but the demand became so overwhelming that they started doing a fair portion of it in-house a few years ago. And when a company like Audible comes out of nowhere and becomes the premier destination for audiobooks, the closest competitor to Amazon's physical and digital book sales, bought out. Amazon needs an existing supply chain to build its grocery service off of? Hello, Whole Foods. Of the 3 examples in this video, Amazon is the closest to a natural monopoly while still participating in many aspects of vertical and horizontal integration. Especially in a pandemic, you could almost argue it's a utility. How else am I going to get a Nintendo Switch, 3 pints of ice cream, and a tomahawk delivered to my door all at the same time? Is life better with one highly regulated Amazon or dozens of separate Amazon analogs? Let's turn to Apple, the vertical monopoly, and frankly, least monopolistic of the lot despite being the most valuable company on the planet. There are plenty of valid critiques, from slight software FUs like only allowing certain OS functions to work with Apple-branded accessories, to ripping out headphone jacks and purposefully holding back hardware so they can make you buy the same device twice, all while taking 30% of the money-trading hands in the App Store. Perhaps the main reason Apple isn't in the same league as Facebook and Amazon is that Apple is the only one actually making physical products, and at the same time making them at a price point beyond most people's budget. You get an iPhone, which works best if you have an Apple Watch, AirPods, and MacBook, all to be bought and serviced at Apple stores. But nothing's stopping you from using a PC or Sony headphones if you like them more. It's not like your iPhone bricks the moment it pairs to filthy third-party peripherals. Once more, Apple's monopoly proves quite convenient, actually. They just started making their own proprietary CPUs, which, when compared to their previous Intel devices, have stunning performance and battery life, while also eliminating Apple's reliance on third-party hardware manufacturers and reducing their overall production costs. And lastly, the one that's most likely to actually feel the wrath of regulation, Facebook. Facebook's monopoly is the most transparent and least natural of them all. Amazon has slowly added pieces to its ecosystem that make it more convenient to consumers. Apple and Google produce hardware and services that create compatibility bubbles but don't entirely lock you in. But Facebook just buys everything. Things that at the time of acquisition were often unrelated to present operations. In total, Facebook has acquired over 80 other companies, most notably Instagram, WhatsApp, and Oculus, with 2 other big offers to Foursquare and Snapchat that didn't come to fruition. The problem here is that these pieces don't naturally come together in any way. You can see as much through their latest efforts to unify their IPs. WhatsApp and Instagram got a "from Facebook" label slapped on them, and Oculus games now require a Facebook account to sign in. Why? No reason. There's no natural flow to that. Facebook isn't one mega platform like Amazon where I can type in anything from key lime pie to personal lubricant 55 gallons and have it delivered to my door with one button. Instead, it's a giant ad revenue octopus sticking its well-funded tentacles into everything it can to pull in as much revenue possible, like some kind of Monopoly Man hentai. I mean, you get what I mean. Apple is Apple because its customers began to demand the Steve Jobs standard for more than just computers and MP3 players. Amazon is Amazon because they were able to fill the demand for a one-stop shopping destination online, eliminating the need to price check a dozen smaller websites to find the best deal. Facebook became Facebook, well, because they could. And boy, have they done a bad job of hiding it. Their most recent acquisition is a company called Customer, a billion-dollar bid to add new age customer service software into the People's Republic of Facebook. The intent is to implement it into WhatsApp, creating a closed system of discovery, purchase, and payment for products, where, according to WhatsApp's COO, Instagram and Facebook are the storefront, WhatsApp is the cash register. And on the same day, both the Federal Trade Commission as well as almost all 50 US states launched antitrust cases against the Zuckership, which, yeah, Facebook has done very little to spin their messaging into something constructive, coupled with the general air of distaste for the platform on all sides of global politics. For which, all we do now is wait. Will the courts rule against Facebook, forcing them to set WhatsApp and Instagram free as independent companies? I don't know, but I hope so. Much like 50 years ago, when society had to draw a line in the sand between robber barons and captains of industry, we must now define where the benefits of big tech start to fall short of its consequences. Business is different now. Life is different now. We created these stock market monsters through our own desire for convenience. We want one app that can do it all. We want one website, one source. But in doing so have built a sort of neo-feudalism where we often are the producer and the consumer, while these companies sit back and cash in just due to their name recognition and the network effect boxing out competitors. We created these digital dynasties. And if Facebook sneaks by, it's going to set a dangerous legal precedent. We talked about Gram almost a year ago. TLDR, Telegram tried to make their own cryptocurrency via private investment. It was challenged by US regulators. The courts ruled in favor of those US regulators, and now we're seeing the fallout. New cryptocurrencies are effectively dead. Old money finance decided to cut the legs out from decentralized venture capital, despite after the fact many agreeing that this was a bad call. Anyone who got in before that case is free to do as they please, but the Graham ruling will now be applied to shut down any future endeavor. So if Facebook sneaks out of this one, I don't see how the US could effectively enforce any antitrust law in the future. At that point, we might as well just pack it in and embrace a future where megacorp conglomerates form their own nations to fight in the great advertising wars. I'll see you in the trenches of the great clickbait battle.